For the first moment, I felt like I was on a balcony looking down, and I saw this vehicle with smoke coming out, and I looked real close, and that was my car. Then I stared at it, and slumped over the steering wheel was my body. I stopped and thought for a moment, how could that be my body? Then, who am I? In an instant, I was sucked away like a piece of dust in a vacuum hose, and I was cascading through a dark tunnel. But it was more like maybe a roller coaster that was going through loop-de-loops and into the heavens. I saw the stars, and quietly, steadily, a white light got closer and closer until I was surrounded and almost wrapped up like going into a hot bathtub after being chilled to the bone in the cold. I was in a loving presence and white light that just filled me with a sense of peace, a kind of safe, loving presence that is impossible to describe, but so wonderful I can't stop trying to find words for it. In that white light, every question I ever had, any idea about what was what or how things worked, was answered immediately. It's like you tap into the universal database, that any information greater than the internet was right there for me to know simply by looking. In a moment or in an hour, I never knew because time was no longer relevant. I found a figure getting clearer and more present, and it became that image that I grew up worshiping on the altar as an altar boy. His other hand was directing me to someplace above and beyond, but his look was so beautiful it was hard to turn away. But a loving command says, look. And I turned, and up to his left was sitting on a big broad chair, a grandfather like Godfather, Father God himself. God waved to me with his right hand, and with his left hand was patting his left knee, saying, come on. And for the first moment in this entire experience, I became self-conscious. I backed away. Me? You want me? And in an instant, I was in his lap with his arms around me, gazing up into his face as he was looking down into my eyes. And his loving presence, his great smile, just told me I was safe. I was home. And with his right hand, he waved at his feet and said, are you through? Again, it was so difficult to turn away from his loving smile, but the command was, am I through? So I looked down at my feet, and there was like a whole photo album all dropped and spread out. And as I looked down at these pictures, it was pictures from my past. And it wasn't just a photograph, it was a 3D image. It was one of these experiences where when you get a picture back and you remember what it was like when you took that picture, I could recall not only what it felt like, but how I was thinking, and recalling exactly how others were feeling because of the way I was behaving. The first image was one of when I was stealing some Coke bottles from a neighbor's garage, a way to go to the movies. And I remembered the mildew inside. I felt every aspect of the experience and went down the road saying, thank God, nobody knows. No longer did I complete that recall. Then there I was, looking into God's eyes, saying, oh, I'm sorry, that was bad. God's response was just more than I could understand at the moment. He said it was neither good nor bad in the grander sense. It was a lesson for your learning. So I get to recall and relive every experience, even when I teased that girl in junior high because she talked with a lisp and she was big and fat. And I not only recalled what I said, I get to feel what she felt like because of the way I behaved. And I felt so bad and ashamed. God's response was again, neither good nor bad. It's a lesson for the learning. I was proud of when I saved this lady's life, and again, neither good nor bad. It's a lesson for the learning. So as I recalled all my experiences, I got to see what we hear so often of a life review. We not only get to look at what we've done, we get to feel what we felt, and we get to feel how our behavior affected others. I turned to God with great thanks for the loving presence. And again, the question came back, are you through? I looked into his eyes and I said, well, there's no way I want to leave. And the message was, you are always here if you would only know it. Every one of us is always connected to and one with our source if we can get beyond our mind. I did respond with, I'm not going back, but I had a final thought. Let Mom know I'm okay. And as I reached out to turn the page on that photograph on the ground and let Mom know I'm okay, I came to in the hospital bed in Atlanta, Georgia, 2 weeks later. That was my first and primary experience, and I've come to realize that that has many of the core elements of the classic near-death experience. I'm so grateful that I've been able to meet other people who've had these experiences and to come to confirm that, no, we're not crazy. We've just had an opportunity to connect with our source and learn that this life that we live is an opportunity that is in giving to others that we receive and become more valuable. Not what we get and have, but what we give. That is the lesson I'd like to leave you with in my experience of dying.